Hey guys, Fantasy Super Rugby Round 7 is coming up this weekend. The team lineups are out. I have poured over them to find who I think will be the best picks in every position for the official Fantasy Super Rugby competition. Don't forget, in the description you can use the chapter select to jump through each position if you don't want to watch me ramble the whole time. Also, don't forget that on my channel I have a shorts video less than a minute long that just lists all the best picks for each position as well, so you can use that if you like. Use it as a reference, whatever floats your boat. Otherwise, let's get into it. Now, before we get to the players, we've got to take a quick look at the fixtures and see where the points are going to be on offer. This week, only 4 games, 3 teams on bye. I'm really going to be targeting Crusaders this week because they've got that matchup against Moana Pacifica, and there's a real good chance Crusaders will be putting on a cricket score here. Other matchup I would like, in theory, would be Queensland Reds versus the Force. Again, there's another chance for a cricket score here. Reds at home at Suncorp against a weaker team. But there is predicted to be some wet weather on Saturday for this game, so it looks like it could be quite significant as well. So that kind of changes the picture, but there's probably going to be less points on offer. Probably going to be a bit more forward focused plays, so keep that in mind and check your weather forecast closer to the game just to see what's happening on that front. Otherwise, Hurricanes versus Tars in Wellington. I'm really liking the Hurricanes for this one. Like the idea of picking a lot of them. And this first game, Highlanders versus Brumbies in Canberra. This could be a close game. I'm favoring the Brumbies. But yeah, still wouldn't hesitate to pick players from these teams either as well. Could be a game played in good spirit, but probably my least favorite matchup of the week for points. Now, moving on to the actual players and starting with the back 3. My top picks for this round are going to be the Crusaders back 3, Will Jordan, Macca Springer, Shea Fihaki. Again, there's a prospect of that cricket score being put against Moana in Christchurch. Conditions look pretty decent there. And yeah, we saw them against the Force just completely demolish them. The back 3, they ran riot. And I think the exact same things on the cards here. Moana, they're not the same as the Force, but again, they do just leak a lot of points, and yeah, it's likely the back 3 are gonna be the ones to score them. At the moment, I'm favoring just the 2, Macca Springer and Will Jordan, but honestly, going for the trifecta, going for the triple, it could actually be the best play. I mean, Shea Fihaki, he might end up scoring more points than the next cabs off the ranks from the other teams. But remember, you can only pick 4 players from one team each week, so you're going to have to make your decisions about where to pick your Crusaders. But the outside backs, they're the most valuable point scorers. Yeah, the triple threat is on here. And also on the bench, the Crusaders have Levi Almoa. He's probably going to come on and replace Darryl McLeod at centre. So the back 3, they're likely to stay on for the full 80 minutes. Outside chance that Camera comes on and replaces someone and plays fullback or something, but that's pretty unlikely, I think. So yeah, Crusaders back 3, hard to look past them. Otherwise, like I said, I like those Hurricanes. That's why I've got Ruben Love here at the moment. I am not married to this pick. This 3rd slot's pretty wide open for me. The other option I really like as well is Caleb Tangitau. He's just looked so dangerous all year, even in losing efforts. Only got 42 against the Reds last week in a losing effort, but that's without any tries. And to be honest, he came close. I think very early on he got 1 try that got pulled back, but it was very close. So yeah, he's a guy always looking for opportunities, always dangerous. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes alright in that Brumbies game. Always a good pick. Another pick I did like as well is Punavai for the Hurricanes. had that massive head knock in that Highlanders game, and I'm kind of surprised to see him back so soon, but happy to see he's recovered. But the thing I like about Punivai is that he's one of those players who gets off his wing and goes looking for the ball, and that really contrasts him with Kenny Naholo, who doesn't really do that. But yeah, these players who come off their wings and get involved, they're usually pretty good in fantasy. And yeah, I really like the Hurricanes against the Tars this week as well. Good conditions for that game, so I think he's a live pick. Otherwise, Ruben Love is good as well. I'm a big fan of his. Hasn't put up a big score so far this season. I also suspect in this game, Riley Hohep is starting at 10 because Harry Godfrey's injured. We might actually see Ruben Love move to 10 in this game because they don't have another 10 on the bench, the Hurricanes. They've just got 2 outside backs and Cade Banks and Finianga Nofo, so that kind of tells me, yeah, like if things aren't going well at 10, who else is going to step up? There's no one on the bench. It's probably going to be Love, so that might affect his point scoring prospects a bit. It will get him more involved in the game. It'll get him more touches, but whether he'll be able to score points of that, I don't know. He'll have less space to operate than he does at fullback, so something to consider there. But otherwise, players that are good, we've got the Brumbies back 3. It's really hard to separate them all. Tom Wright, Corey Toole, Andy Muirhead, they really kind of spread the points around. Tom Wright's probably the more solid option, but yeah, you never know which one out of these 3 is going to go well. But yeah, I do favor the Brumbies in that Highlanders match, and any of these guys could go well. And lastly, there's also the Reds back 3 to consider. Tim Ryan, Anderson, Dalgunu, Jeremiah Murray. Dalgunu's actually at centre, don't forget, so he has a bit less space to operate against. But yeah, they're up against the Force. The Force concede a lot of points. Reds, they're at home at Suncorp. The Reds back 3 should be live options, but again, remember the conditions for that game. At the moment, it looks like it's a very, very high chance of being very wet. So yeah, it might pay to check what conditions look like on the day on Saturday and see if that changes, if it dries up. If it does, these guys might become live options again, but otherwise it's really hard to pick backs in games where it's just really, really wet, even if it's a mismatch. So that's why I'm kind of deprioritizing those Reds back 3 this week. Moving on to the midfield, my top picks for this week are going to be the Crusaders midfield, David Havili in particular. Darren McLeod will probably go quite well potentially, but he's likely to be subbed for Levi Almoa, so he will get less game time this round as well. But yeah, David Havili's still a good pick, I think. The other big news this week is that Joseph Suali'i is back and he is starting again. We haven't seen him since round 1. Only got 29 points then, but he did play at fullback. This round he will be starting at 13, which is the position he played when he had that massive Wallabies debut. And yeah, I mean, not sure how that's going to affect his point scoring prospects. He probably will get a little bit more ball, but a bit less space. They are up against the Hurricanes as well, which is not an easy matchup, but games against the Hurricanes so far this year have been very open and a lot of points going both ways. So yeah, I'm still liking the Joseph Suali'i pick this game, but it is a little bit of an unknown as well, a little bit of risk attached to it. Not quite sure how it's going to go. You can make your mind up about that one. And otherwise, not a huge amount going on. I do kind of like the Paisami pick, but again, picking backs into really wet weather, it's tough to do. If you are going to pick a back in bad weather though, it's probably going to be that Crash Ball 12, which Paisami does really well. He's probably the back that'll get the most play apart from, you know, the fullbacks who will be receiving and making a lot of kicks probably. And there's also Leonard Kitau as well. had that big game against the Draw, has been pretty solid otherwise, apart from these Force and Blues games. So yeah, little bit of a boom bust dynamic there. And yeah, against the Highlanders, not exactly an easy game either, so not really an exciting pick, but you know, one you can't really look past. And otherwise, there's not a huge amount going on really. I mean, you could look at these Hurricanes midfielders, because I do like the Canes against the Tars, but yeah, they're just not particularly exciting players, and really isn't a lot going on at midfield otherwise. So yeah, that's where I'll leave my picks. I've gone Havili. He's probably the best midfielder by far. The second one, you can really shop around and make your pick yourself. And yeah, let's have a look at the 10s. So this week, no D-Mac, the god, the fantasy god. He is out, he is on bye, he is putting his feet up and having a rest. So we have to pick from all these other chumps here. And probably the biggest one to make note of is James O'Connor. He is finally getting a start over Taha Kemeda, and he's the best 10 in the Crusaders, to be honest. Kemeda, he's a work in progress, and yeah, the coaching staff, they're committed to developing him. That's why they're playing him. But now O'Connor gets a go, and yeah, I think he will probably go well this game against Moana with that dodgy defense. Other options to consider, Willie Havili. I mean, he's been so good this year, and in particular, he was really good last week in that losing effort against the Chiefs, getting those 2 tries. But yeah, it's tough to pick him into the Crusaders. I mean, how much play are Moana going to get against the Crusaders? I feel like the best case scenario for us picking him is that the Crusaders get far ahead and take their foot off the gas, and then Moana get to run in a couple of easy ones, and hopefully Havili will be the one to do that. Havili also doesn't get to kick the goals anymore. Pellegrini is starting, so yeah, that kind of devalues him a little bit. But really the only other one I'd probably be looking at was Tom Liner, but again, weak conditions, probably going to be a lot of kicking. Might mean more shots at goal, more penalties, but yeah, still really not an exciting prospect. And these other guys aren't really exciting either. Donaldson is solid, but yeah, coming up against the Reds and the Wed, it's kind of the same story for him. Might kick a few penalties, but nothing exciting is going to happen there. So yeah, I've gone with James O'Connor, used up one of my Crusaders slots on him. You know, you might want to be careful about that. You might want to just go for that Shea Fihaki instead of one of these guys as your third outside back. But yeah, if you're not doing that, then James O'Connor's probably your best 10. Now looking at the 9s, Cam Roigard is finally back. He is the best halfback in the competition by far. He is playing so well, not just on the park, but in fantasy as well. Miles ahead of everybody else in terms of points. But there are still another 2 really strong options to consider who are pretty much just as good. I mean, one of them is Noah Hotham, again a Crusader. In that strong matchup against Moana, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and he's the type of halfback who really loves to snipe. He loves to keep the ball in his hands and run, and he's probably going to have a lot of opportunity to do that this weekend as well. But again, he's going to use up one of your 4 Crusaders players, so is he really the best, is halfback the best slot to make that choice when you could just be going with Roigard, who's also in a good matchup against the Waratahs? Probably not. The other option to consider as well is Kalani Thomas. He was electric against the Highlanders last week, got a pretty hefty score as well, and that's why he's starting this week over Tate McDermott. He obviously impressed his coaches as well. And again, he's quite a good running halfback. He's really quick around the park with the ball in hand. But yeah, again, probably going to be pretty dire weather at Suncorp this weekend, this Saturday. Probably going to be doing a lot of kicking, box kicking, I don't know. Yeah, really takes the shine off him a bit. So yeah, it's going to be Roigard for me. Moving on to the loose forwards, I have gone with Carlo Tizzano, Duplessis Carriffy, and Rob Valentini as my picks. Pretty happy with the Tizzano and Carriffy picks. Rob Valentini, kind of soft on that option at the moment, might end up changing him. And the other guys I'm sort of looking at are, well, the other Hurricanes loose forwards for starters, Braden Yose, Peter Lakai, both very strong players. One of these two is probably going to end up getting subbed for Brad Shields. Could be either, to be honest. They probably will decide depending on who's looking better on the day. The other big mover and shaker is Artie Sevilla. He is back. But yeah, how's he going to go against the Crusaders? Yeah, still hard to imagine him really racking up a big score against them. But look, it's Artie Sevilla. I mean, he's one of the best players on the planet, one of the best players to ever do it. So do you want to bet against him? Yeah, I don't know. That's your call, that one. Miracle Failangi as well. He's also another handy pack, very strong with ball in hand and did quite well in that Chiefs game as well. So yeah, another option to consider. But beyond that, not a huge amount going on. Harry Wilson, Fraser McWright are out. They've been replaced by Brill and Bryant for the Reds. Really don't know a lot about them. But yeah, Reds forwards could be a good pick because of that wet weather. Probably be a lot of work put in by the forwards, but that doesn't necessarily mean it'll translate to points for them. Waratah's back three. I do like them. Leota, Gleason. But yeah, I mean, they could get a bit of play in this Hurricanes game because, like I said earlier, Canes games tend to be open for both sides. But yeah, still not really my favorite options. And the Crusaders back row, I mean, they should be big this week, but your options aren't exciting because yeah, it's Ethan Blackadder and this guy Anderson. I'm not familiar with this guy at all. It's his first start. He's starting at number 8. I do like number 8s in this competition, but they also have another 8 on the bench as well in the form of Xavier Saifaloy, I believe his name is. So yeah, this guy will probably get subbed for him, so he won't be getting the full 80. Cullen Grace is at 6, but he's at lock in fantasy. So the only other Crusaders back rower option is Ethan Blackadder. And Blackadder, like, the guy's so busy, but he gets so little reward in fantasy because, yeah, a lot of what he's doing, it's like he's kind of busy doing nothing. He carries the ball a lot, but he just runs it straight into the brick wall. He never passes it. He rarely offloads. Like, he never runs into a gap. He just runs straight into the brick wall. And yeah, you look at his stats, like he's got 1 offload and 1 defender's beaten. Like, that's all of his offensive stats in 3 games. 1 defender beaten once and 1 offload. Yeah, 1 turnover forced, 1 try. Does make a lot of tackles, but yeah, that doesn't get you very far in fantasy. So really not a fan of that option despite the matchup. And otherwise, there's just not a lot going on in loose forwards. So yeah, Carriffy and Tizzano locked for me. Your third slots, Valentini, another Hurricane, Yose Olakai, or Artie Sevilla. That's my picks for this week. Moving on to lock, it's always really tough to pick locks. There's just not a lot going on. I say this every week, but yeah, your options are Cullen Grace, very good option, but will use up one of your Crusaders slots. Salakai Lotto is actually starting this week, and yeah, kind of interested to see how he goes. Reds playing in the wet will be more play by the forwards. Probably a lot more kicking, more line out. So yeah, I do kind of like Salakai Lotto. The other Reds lock though, Ryan Smith, he's pretty good as well. Not sure which one of the two is going to end up getting subbed, but I'm thinking Salakai Lotto, he might stick it out. He did come off the bench last week, so he should be pretty much match fit now. Tom Hooper's the other option I've gone with. Really like how this guy plays. Not that it necessarily translates into a lot of points, but yeah, he's as good as any other option. One interesting idea I had at lock actually is picking one of these Hurricanes locks, probably Caleb Delaney, just because they're coming up against the Waratahs, and the Waratahs have a serious problem at the moment. They're down to their sort of third string hookers, and this is a real problem for them. Like last week, they really bungled a lot of line out in their Brumbies game. The Brumbies pinched a lot of it, and that's why Nick Frost is actually up the top here. You can see, yeah, 3 line out steals, 15 points, which is pretty huge for a lock. So I'm thinking that same hooker's starting this week for the Waratahs. Maybe there's an opportunity for the Hurricanes here to really pick off some line out, and maybe their locks will benefit. Caleb Delaney, he's been the lock who's just played the most for the Hurricanes. And yeah, you can see line out steal there, line out steal here, line out steal here. Didn't play a full 80 here. Yeah, he's picking up a line out steal almost every game. So yeah, bit of an out there strategy, but something to consider. I was going to do it, but backed away from it because yeah, I'm at that 4 Hurricanes limit. So don't really like getting guys in the lock slots when, you know, they're in teams and matchups that I really like that week. Moving on to hooker, and the big news here is that Safa Almoa is finally getting a start. Really big fan of his in terms of fantasy, just because he's so good ball in hand. He can rack up those tackle busts and offloads. And on top of all the other points that hookers kind of get for free from your lineouts and scrums, that can sort of elevate them above the rest. Other options I was considering though, Richie Asiata. I do just like this guy in general, but this week with the wet in Brisbane, maybe that means we'll see a lot more mauling. And the Reds, they're a team that does like to use their maul just in general, even in good conditions. So I'm thinking with it wet, it might be something we see even more often. They kick to the corner, go for the maul, and if they do, Richie Asiata, he's going to be the one who benefits getting those tries. So definitely something to think seriously about there, going for Richie Asiata. At the moment I've got Almoa, but yeah, I sort of don't mind the idea of maybe putting Asiata in, freeing up that Hurricane slot, and maybe getting one of them in the locks or in my third back row slot. So yeah, think seriously about that one. Another option will probably be good is Moananu. This guy just really likes playing in the open, ball in hand. And yeah, against Moana, there's probably going to be plenty of space for him. But the problem, again, is that he's going to take up one of your Crusaders slots. That's a Crusaders outside back that you can't pick. So yeah, that's the only thing to really consider there. And lastly, looking at the props. Yeah, kind of like lock. This is always a tough category to separate people in, but good news is that Marley Pierce is starting again this week. People really seem to like picking him, along with his partner in crime, Tom Robertson. I'm sort of wondering though, this week they're up against the Queensland Reds. For the Reds, Hodgman, he's starting this week. He came off the bench last week and he really destroyed that Highlanders scrum. He destroyed his opposite, Saola Ma'u, and pretty much won them the game. So yeah, I'm just wondering, like, Hodgman, if he's a real deal scrummager coming up against the Force, you know, if he's able to do the same thing to the Force, to Tom Robinson, well, yeah, maybe the Force props aren't going to be getting those freebie scrum points. But again, it's wet. Probably will be a lot of scrums because of all the knock-ons, and in the wet, teams play tight. There's a lot of that sort of close to the ruck, pick and go type stuff, and when that happens, the type 5 often rack up a lot of tackles as well. So yeah, could still be good options here. But otherwise, my favorite prop, it is Angus Bell. Probably can't go wrong with him. Is coming up against the Hurricanes. Pretty intimidating front row there because Tyrell Lomax is starting this week. So yeah, probably the best scrummaging tight head in New Zealand. If the Hurricanes get the edge of scrum time, well, that might not be good, but Tars scrum's no joke as well. They do have Tupou on the other side, and yeah, with the way the Hurricanes play, both teams sort of get to play in the open a bit, so that could suit Bell and his carry game as well. But beyond that, your Crusaders props probably are going to do pretty well this week. Fletcher Newell and George Bauer, but again, I just wouldn't waste one of my 4 Crusader picks on a prop. It's just not worth it. And the last pick I really like is probably Xavier Numia. Again, one of those front rowers that's just kind of good ball in hand, gets offloads, get tackle busts. It's been pretty quiet this year, to be honest. So yeah, he's not a must pick, but definitely one to consider, especially if you haven't already loaded up on your 4 Hurricanes. Now lastly, looking at who to captain. At the moment, I've got Will Jordan selected. Could end up going for Macca Springer though if you want to be greedy. Like, these wings, they do tend to score more tries than the fullbacks. So yeah, that could be the play. And I probably wouldn't be looking at anyone else outside of these 2 this week, to be honest. And as for opportunities to use boosters as well, I mean, I would say this is probably a pretty good round to use them, whether it's the triple captain on one of these guys or going for the co-captains if you haven't used that on both of these guys. Yeah, I think that's something serious to consider this week. Anyway guys, that'll do it for this week's picks. Don't forget, weather can change, so at the moment that rain's predicted in Brisbane and a little bit in Canberra, but check it on the day just in case that changes, because yeah, that could really change your picks this week if things do change in Brisbane. Also, don't forget to check before the games as well to see if any players have been scratched late. You've probably run into it already this year, but that can really screw you over a bit. I do try and check this, and then I go and post comments under this video to update people just in case they happen to notice it at the last minute. But other than that guys, I hope you enjoy all the games this weekend. I hope you found this useful as well. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.